My word is my bond. I always love that phrase. Looking somebody in the eye and making a promise, it's more than words. Your reputation's on the line. Promising to show up for a birthday party or take out the trash. Those were easy to keep. But promising to be faithful? If I looked hard enough, I always found the reason. My first serious girlfriend was a high school dropout. And one day I came over complaining about all the self-inflicted responsibilities I'd taken on, and she asked me, "Why do you always have to be number one?" I looked at her like she was crazy. Talk about a turnoff. It wasn't long after that I cheated on her. My next serious relationship was one of those on again, off again situations. We must have broken up 5 or 6 times at least. She never caught me cheating though. But each time I ended our relationship, it was because I started sleeping with someone else. So I stayed out of monogamous relationships for a hot minute. I figured it was better to not make any promises to anyone and stay single. Enjoy my bachelorhood. That didn't last too long, no. Before I knew what happened, I was standing before a crowd of friends and family repeating wedding vows. Trust me when I say the sex was incredible. It was the first time in my life that I remained faithful to anyone. And what's crazy is my wife actually wound up cheating on me. By keeping myself at an emotional distance, I was making sure that none of them would have any expectations of me. Other than maybe a few orgasms. Without expectations, there are no broken promises. No one's disappointed. I wanted to be so different. To break free from that long line of smooth-talking, confident cheaters I call family. My great-grandfather ran a sugarcane plantation in Puerto Rico. Everyone in the community looked up to him. They all considered him a just and honorable man. On my great-grandfather's wedding day, the small town celebrated throughout the night. And when the party eventually came to an end, my great-grandmother slept alone. Turns out my great-grandfather spent the night with his mistress, who lived only a few blocks away. I grew up thinking how terrible it must have been for my great-grandmother to have to deal with that. But at the same time, I was intrigued by his audacity. It actually bordered on admiration. My grandfather wasn't as respected, but he may have been more feared. He abused his position as the oldest son in a middle-class family in a town filled with poverty. He constantly threatened others and was a notorious gambler. None of this served to frighten off my grandmother. It didn't take long for Grandma to get pregnant, which made her the second woman carrying his child. The other was his first cousin. One day not too long ago, I was sitting alone thinking about why I've had so many failed relationships. Could it be in my blood? My DNA? I guess it's always easy to blame somebody else. Then all of a sudden, a fuzzy image, maybe a memory, popped into my head like a scene from some movie I barely remember. You see, my mother worked days and my father worked nights. And he was sitting on this leather couch in front of a huge window. The sun was shining brightly, encasing him in an almost heavenly glow. His fingers were massaging the neck and shoulders of the woman from the downstairs apartment. Slowly, they slipped underneath the spaghetti straps of her sundress. He whispered things in her ear that made her smile and breathe deeply. I had no idea what he was doing. I knew he wasn't doing it to Mommy. My father was well liked wherever he went. A joke and a kind word were never far from his lips. I watched how men laughed with him over bottles of beer and how women batted their eyelashes while their eyes seemed to say so much more than their words. And then it happened. The babysitter caught a glimpse of me peeking around the doorway. And my father put one finger to his lips and told me to go upstairs. I shut the door, and without knowing, I made a promise to keep a secret. I guess every promise has its price, huh?